welcome to the Lighten Up podcast with Lauren Polly, your invitation for living on the lighter side of life. I'm Lauren Polly, and I am delighted you've chosen to join me today for episode 152, The Environment and Your Mind. What is the impact? This is a huge topic. It's something, we dive into a lot on this show in different various forms. And I think what a lot of us are looking to discover, where am I in the noise of life? What is actually true for me? Where is my true life going? What is the energy that I would like to be in the world? What is the energies I'd like to be surrounded by in my day-to-day life? So many times we have such a sensitivity in regards to picking things up from the environment and buying it as ours, or living like it's ours to fix or to figure out or to comply with or to bend to. Not taking the power in our own hands to be able to say, cool, that's the environment that I'm around, but I'm going to strengthen myself, my own wishes for what I'd like my life to feel like, to sense like, and to be like, and choose that instead. Sometimes we have a hard time with that power because, quite frankly, we don't really have the awareness of where the environment stops and where we begin. It's like we are swimming in a soup, and before you know it, you think you're just part of the soup. You get swallowed in the flavoring and the colors and the textures of things that are surrounding you, so much so that you can't find what's inside of you if you desire it to be different and how to go about creating it. We have many different ahas with this. I did one show back in December, actually, with the holidays coming up, called When Old Patterns Resurface, which was brilliant. It was looking at going home for the holidays or going back to a different environment. And before you know it, you fall back into old patterns. All of a sudden, where you are kind of professional and successful in your own life, you become like the bratty kid again. You fall back into sibling relationships. You get around old friends, and before you know it, you're acting like you were in high school. That is a beautiful example of how you change your environment, and you change because you morph and kind of lose yourself in it. Today's conversation, I want to go a little bit deeper with that and actually start looking at the environment of your home and how that may be impacting your day-to-day life, not to mention your future, in a really huge way. I had the absolute delight to be on vacation in North Carolina this last week, where my family is. I actually spent a couple of days up in a beautiful cabin in the North Carolina mountains by myself. And oh my God, it was so amazing. As soon as I parked the car, I got unloaded, it was just an immediate relaxation. And I don't mean relaxation like a yoga class where I'm just breathing deeper. It was a relaxation of my being. My headspace was like non-existent. There weren't thoughts constantly going, like that crazy hamster wheel most of us have in our mind. My body relaxed in a way where I wasn't sitting stiffly or holding tension in any parts. It was just an exhale of my entire body. There was a presence of, wow, God, look at that tree just starting to bud. There was a joy just in being here and knowing and being grateful for in this moment, everything is okay. Now, I had that experience right away, and beautifully enough, it continued through the whole stay. It was fascinating to me to look at that and kind of go, oh, aha, this is actually my true state of being. I know I've done enough work by now that when I'm actually being me, there is an unshakable presence to the moment. There is a wealth of gratitude and utter joy and curiosity of wow, what is this moment going to be? Look at that tree, look at that bird, look at this interesting person I'm talking to. That one's a little more challenging, I will admit. But it was just this fascinating aha of wow, the relaxation in my body, this headspace that actually isn't busy with thoughts. That's me. And it was a beautiful, beautiful kind of compare and contrast moment of wow, this is amazing. Right when I landed back in my home city, Los Angeles, oh my goodness, did things shift and change. My head got busier. I found myself sitting on my sofa tightly. There was weird tension in my shoulders. My jaw was held. I was like, what is this? This is super weird. I was so relaxed there. All of a sudden, I'm not doing anything, but I have tension in my body. These interesting kind of thoughts start coming into my space of, I don't have enough. I need to produce more. There's a lot of stuff to do today. The interesting compare and contrast to the presence and the gratitude of the moment and the relaxation into it in the woods, and the busyness, the whirlingness, and the I'm not really grateful for what's here. I actually require more, started to be such an aha moment for me. And while we chat about this, I'd love for you just to kind of retroflect to when you had a vacation or when you were just outside of your normal environment. You were hanging around different folks. You varied from your normal routine. You were in a different space or place that just felt different. Nature is a wonderful teacher for this, because when we're out in nature, guess what? There are no other people around, or at least just minimal people. So the headspace that you're constantly picking up on from other people isn't there. The body tension that you're picking up on from other bodies isn't there. Kind of the weird thing that we do where we tap into what other people need and expect of us constantly, and our own world effort to live up to it in some way isn't there. So nature is a fantastic teacher for this. Think about the last time you had that for yourself, where there was a relaxation, your head was quieter, there wasn't that push to perform. There was just you. And really get clear with those energies. This is an exercise I invite you to practice daily. Really get clear with those energies. And look at the difference between how you function on a day-to-day basis. Now, the interesting question comes in, and this is an awareness building exercise, because guess what? When you get aware, that's the only time you can change something. If you're looking for reclaiming your power and finding you in life, guess what? You got to get aware of where you're not being it. That's what this is. Get the energy of that relaxation, get the energy of that presence, and then look where you're not choosing that in your day-to-day life. And now let's start to look at what impact the environment that you're living in is having on that. For me, coming back to Los Angeles, it was a big aha of like, wow, the thoughts in my head, the things that kind of have been pervasive in my space of having to create and not having enough and the lack of gratitude. I had that big aha because I sat with it of like, cool, I was super delightful out there in the woods. What's different here? The people, the environment, cool. Oh, this is the energy of Los Angeles. Here in this city, it's very kind of outward focused. Things look good on the outside, even if they're not on the inside. That's what people strive for. It's extremely consumptive. It's like more. I got to get stuff. There's also, I don't have enough, that plays constantly in people's heads around here. Constantly shooting for more. And I'm one who absolutely creates more and is constantly kind of veracity focused on that. But in my true state, my quest for more is accompanied and underscored and first and foremost in the gratitude and the presence of the moment, like I had in the woods. That's not an element that's actually here in the environment in LA. And being able to kind of have this compare and contrast was huge for me, because I went, wait a second, that's actually not me, that's not mine. Now that I have this aha of, wow, I can actually choose what I had in the woods because it's me. Once you've experienced it, guess what? You can choose it. Once you're aware of it, guess what? It's readily available to you. And once you have the awareness that that's actually not what you've been choosing in the day-to-day life, because you've allowed yourself to get swept away into the mindsets and the body tensions and the ways of functioning in your day-to-day society, you start to become clearer and can strengthen yourself in that. So for me, it's been a practice this week after being back of like, wow, okay, all of that stuff that I'm aware of, all of those mindsets, all of that body tension, totally not me. And I have a different choice here. Most of us think that we have to leave our environment in order to have that relaxed space. We need to go on vacation. I need 3 days in the woods by myself just to decompress. And sometimes it's amazing and it's a beautiful experience. Absolutely. And like me, it was a huge aha moment. It's something that now I am really looking at kind of bridging the gap for, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do that in order to have you. My challenge for myself, my challenge for you all listening, my challenge for all my coaching clients who we're going to be talking about that this week, one-to-one, is getting clear on those energies that you have when you have you, when you're in a different environment, when you're out of the day-to-day, you have more exploration with that. And now the work comes in of being aware of when you want to fall back into that environment, when that environment oversteps its boundaries and starts to overtake you. Where all of a sudden it's not that it's surrounding you and that people around you function that way. It starts to creep in and whirl your own mind. It starts to creep in and tenses your own body. It starts to creep in and actually changes the way you see things. That's super dangerous. And it creeps into the point where you actually make different choices in your life based on that. How many of your choices, because of stress or a fear of lack or a body tension thing, how much has that actually guided your life in a not so generative way? Where if you were able to actually do this strengthening work of going, oh, I know me. I know how I am when I'm not impacted by the environment. I'm going to choose that. And that's the rub here. That's where I would like you to actually practice. If you need to get out of your natural environment this week just to get a sense of that, go on a hike, go on a vacation if you can, change up your day-to-day routine, drive down a different street, go to a different coffee shop, talk to strangers. That's another great way. If you need to do that to get a sense of this and refresh, awesome, do it. If you can actually have a fresh memory here to go, oh, wow, I did have that recently, and those were the energies. I noticed a presence. I noticed a gratitude. I noticed a curiosity. My body felt different. My head was quieter. If you have that, start to look at what came in when you came back home. And if it just came back in at home, guess what? It's probably not yours. It's probably the environment you're living in. What do? You start to make the choice not to buy it as yours. Oh my God, I'm thinking that I don't have enough money. Wait a second, that wasn't there a week ago. That's somebody else's. Wow, my body is super tense when I walk into that restaurant. I wonder what my body's aware of here. Wow, my head is constantly swirling and swirling and swirling. Wow, I'm now back in the city surrounded by billions of people where before I was out in nature by myself. Perhaps that busy mind isn't actually mine. Being able to find yourself in the noise of life and tune your dial in is important for in-the-moment relaxation and gratitude and presence with you, right? Beyond that, the choices that we make that guide our future are so much more generative and so much more authentic and us when we're able to find ourselves and not get swayed by the environmental triggers that are around us. If you're making choices for your life based on other people's worries, based on other people's expectations of you, based on other people's needs of you, that's actually going to guide your life in a totally different way than you making choices based on that peaceful, present gratitude, curious energy that's there when you just have you. This is a tricky topic. This is something that I invite you to play with. Again, I did a podcast on this back at the holidays when old patterns resurfaced. You can go back and listen to that for a different slant on it. Listen to this one again, piece it apart for yourself. Play with that compare and contrast, because once you have the awareness of that, once you have the sense of that visceral sense, it gets so much easier to choose you and not choose the environment triggers. If you would love more to help with this more one-to-one and actually kind of piece it apart a little bit more and strengthen you, I'd love to invite you onto a discovery call with me. It is an hour where we can kind of dig in and see what we can create together so that you have you regardless of what environment you're around. It's really time to take back your power and actually have that sense of you all the time, and not give yourself up completely to other people and to the environment at large. You can find more information about that on my website, laurenpolly.com. I hope you enjoy this episode, and as always, I will chat with you next Tuesday.